Hey everyone, and welcome back to Financial Freedom Hub. Ready for another deep dive?
Absolutely, let's do it.
All right, so today we're cracking open a book that's basically a cornerstone in the world of personal finance. Uh, you know, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki.
A classic.
And we're going to be focusing on Chapter 2, Lesson 2, Why Teach Financial Literacy. So get ready, because we're about to uncover some principles that might just change how you think about money and maybe even how you see the world around you.
You know, it's so interesting how Kiyosaki starts this chapter. He doesn't mess around. He throws you right into the thick of it. 1923, a room full of America's richest businessmen.
Oh yeah, I remember this part.
These guys were the titans,
Yeah.
right? Building empires left and right. But here's the thing. Within a few years, so many of them were bankrupt, struggling. Some even, well, let's just say it wasn't a happy ending for a lot of them.
Yeah, talk about starting on a bit of a downer, right?
Yeah.
But it definitely gets your attention for sure.
It does, and that's the whole point. Kiyosaki wants us to question this idea that raking in tons of money equals financial security.
Right. It's not about just having it. It's about what you do with it, how you handle it. That's what makes all the difference.
Exactly. It's like he's saying, hey, just because you're making it rain now doesn't mean you won't be caught in a downpour later.
And that's where financial literacy comes in, right?
Yeah.
It's more than just balancing a checkbook. It's about really understanding how money works, how to make it work for you.
Exactly. It's about being the captain of your own financial ship instead of just a passenger along for the ride.
Now, I've got to ask, what did you think about that story with the young, educated couple who end up drowning in debt?
Oh, man, that one hit close to home for a lot of people, I'm sure. They were making good money, don't get me wrong, but their spending was out of control. Every raise meant a bigger house, a nicer car.
It's like they were on a treadmill, running and running, but going nowhere fast.
Exactly. And you know what? This happens all the time, even with the little things. Think about it. That new phone you just had to have the latest gadget, those designer shoes calling your name, they add up. Suddenly you're working to pay for all that stuff instead of actually building wealth.
It's true. It's so easy to fall into that trap, especially when you're constantly bombarded with messages telling you you need all this stuff to be happy.
Right. It's like we're conditioned to think more stuff equals more happiness, when really it often means more stress. But Kiyosaki wants us to question that, to be mindful of where our hard-earned money is going and why.
Absolutely. It's about being intentional with our finances.
Yeah.
And speaking of intentional, that's where his distinction between an asset and a liability comes in.
Right. And he puts it so simply, an asset puts money in your pocket, liability takes money out.
It's simple but powerful, right?
Totally. But you'd be surprised how many people, even those with fancy degrees, misunderstand this, especially when it comes to big purchases.
He's not afraid to challenge some conventional wisdom either. Like his view that your house isn't always an asset, that definitely ruffled some feathers.
For sure. But that's why I love those cash flow diagrams he uses. They're like a visual roadmap of where your money is going.
Yeah, those diagrams are super helpful.
Yeah.
You can see the pattern of a poor person, a middle-class person, and a rich person side by side.
It's eye-opening, right? Because you realize it's not always about how much you earn. It's about what you keep and where you direct that money.
Exactly. You could be making a decent salary, but if most of it's going towards liabilities like a huge mortgage or car payments,
You're not really getting ahead. It's like trying to fill a bathtub with the drain open. No matter how much water you pour in, it's not going to fill up.
it's like you're working so hard, but someone else is reaping the benefits.
It's like you said, working for the bank.
Exactly. And that's where Kiyosaki's comparison of his rich dad and poor dad really hits home.
Such a great way to show how differently people think about money. The poor dad, despite being educated and having a good job, gets stuck in that cycle of working paycheck to paycheck, paying bills, and just racking up those liabilities.
It's that phrase, working for the bank, that really gets me. You think you're working for that paycheck, but then it feels like so much of it just goes straight back out the door to cover all those debts.
It's like you're trapped in their system.
Totally. And then Kiyosaki emphasizes building assets, things that generate passive income, so your money's working for you.
Exactly. Instead of the other way around, it's about taking control of your finances instead of letting them control you. Which reminds me of that Buckminster Fuller quote Kiyosaki uses about wealth.
Oh yeah, that one's a real head scratcher.
Yeah.
He says wealth isn't about how much money you have, but how long you could survive financially if you stopped working.
Forces you to think differently, right? It's not about just accumulating stuff. It's about building real financial sustainability.
It's like suddenly you're not just looking at a house as a place to live, but you're thinking, could this be an asset? Could I rent it out? Maybe generate some passive income.
It's about seeing opportunities thinking outside the traditional work spend box. And that's what financial literacy does. It opens up a whole new way of looking at the world.
It's like you're learning a secret language, the language of money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You start to understand how businesses work, how investments function, even why people make the decisions they do. It's like Kiyosaki gives you this new lens and suddenly everything's clearer.
It's like you're finally in on the secret.
Right, like you've unlocked a whole new level of understanding.
Exactly. But Kiyosaki's real about it, too. He doesn't pretend it's always easy. He talks about those deep-seated fears people have when it comes to money.
Oh, yeah, the fear of messing up, the fear of taking risks, even the fear of standing out from the crowd.
And those fears can be paralyzing. They keep people stuck even when they know they should make a change. It's easier to stay in your comfort zone, right? Even if it means sacrificing your financial well-being in the long run.
It's like that saying, better the devil you know than the devil you don't. But Kiyosaki's challenging that mindset. He wants us to break free from those limiting beliefs.
It's like that quote he uses, if you find you have dug yourself into a hole, stop digging. Sometimes the best thing you can do is admit you need a new plan, even if it means going against everything you thought you knew.
Absolutely. And that's what I love about Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It encourages you to question those old money scripts we often get from our families or society, those supposed to stress that might not actually be true.
It's not about blindly following Kiyosaki's every word. It's about letting his ideas spark something in you to start your own financial education.
Exactly. He wants you to think critically, ask questions, figure out what works best for your own life and goals.
He wouldn't even mind if you disagreed with him as long as you were thinking for yourself.
Right. It's about becoming financially independent in every sense of the word.
So to sum it all up, understanding the difference between assets and liabilities is huge, and the power of cash flow. That idea of wealth is financial freedom.
It's about building a life where you have choices and options.
And most importantly, having the guts to learn and grow and take control of your own financial future.
Absolutely. It's a journey, not a finish line. There's always something new to discover.
It's an adventure. And we want to hear from you. What were your biggest takeaways from this chapter? Did any of Kiyosaki's ideas challenge your own beliefs about money? Head over to the comments and let's keep this conversation going. And until next time, keep diving deep into the world of finance with Financial Freedom Hub.